Fun one for you guys today. It is a very low tide here on Sanibel. We are headed down towards Lighthouse. The water is pretty calm. Visibility is so-so. It's a little bit on the foggy side, but it's calm, so that's good. But what I wanted to show you guys, it is Sand Dollar City out here, and every once in a while we see a ton of live sand dollars, which is really fun. And you can kind of see here in the sand, you'll kind of see some imprints of where they're buried in the sand. So here you can kind of see one, and then there's another one here, and there's just a ton of them underneath the sand. So here, there's some more. So as you're walking, you know, you're literally walking on top of sand dollars, which is crazy, but there's a bajillion of them. It's kind of mind-boggling, really. And we've got a bunch of the little sea squirts too, right here. That if you agitate them a little bit, they squirt some water up. I don't know if you'll be able to see them squirt because they're underwater there, but we'll try to find one that's out of water for you guys. But lots of sand dollars, like so many. So I'm gonna give you guys kind of an up close and personal look at these sand dollars because they are alive. And I always get asked how to tell if a sand dollar is live. So I'm gonna show you this little guy here. Let me just flip him over and get him all. So sand dollars are pretty unique. They're pretty cool, cool species of sea creature. They've got these little legs or little feet right here on the edges. And then you can see them in the keyhole here too. And I'll flip them over so you can see on the back. They kind of look fuzzy. And if you look real close, and I'm going to try to zoom in, you'll be able to see those little feet move. And I'll try to hold real still so you can see if they're moving. And they'll kind of look like they're glistening. But you can see them moving. So this little guy's alive, and there's a little hitchhiker crab right there in the middle. Can you see him? Right here, hanging on there. So as you can see, the sand dollar is not perfect. It has some damage. It's got, looks like it might have been stepped on here, and then it looks like it could have had a chunk taken out of it by maybe an animal, or it could have just been broken by a beachgoer. But the unique thing about sea stars or starfish and sand dollars is that they can regenerate, which is amazing. And you can see that this little guy is clearly regenerating beautifully. And he's already growing back his little legs, his little feet around his shell. And you'll be able to kind of see and feel that the top of the shell kind of feels like a velvet. And this one is clearly alive and doing great. So we're gonna put him right back where we found him and kind of bury him back into the sand a little bit. And where I'm standing, there's another one right here. And you always want to be careful because there's a suction when you go to pick them up, so I kind of wiggle my finger around because you don't want to break them. Ooh, this one's a big one. Look how pretty. So same thing. This one's nice and velvety on top. And you can see the little feet in the keyhole. You can really see them moving there. Lots of movement there. Same thing on the back. Lots of little feet, little legs. Moving around. And all throughout here, there's just tons of these sand dollars underneath the sand. So it's pretty crazy. Like hundreds and hundreds of them. So it's pretty neat. I'll give you guys a little view of the beach. So every now and then you'll find some up on the beach like this. This little guy here is kind of making a little path. It's kind of moving along a little bit. This one over here, same thing. And you can tell he's alive. Again, I don't even have to pick him up. I can see his little keyhole feet right there moving. So he's alive as well. And I know that everybody wants to, you know, pick them up and try to put them back in the water, but these sea creatures, you guys, they are built to last through tides. So when they get stuck during low tide, they will be fine. They will not dry out in a single tide. When the tide comes back in, they'll be fine. If you guys can see up here, I mean, the high tide line is all the way up here. Ooh, it's a little breezy all of a sudden. So you can see, I mean, it is just such super duper low tide. So our high tide rack line is all the way up here. Super negative low tide. And it's always kind of fun to come explore these tide pools too. They can be a little stinky because sometimes there's a little sea muck and things like that as it's drying out. But sometimes there'll be fun shells that are uncovered and other sea life and things like that. The other really cool thing is I'm looking at my hands. I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but sand dollars put off a yellow dye. You can see like my thumb there. Hopefully you guys will be able to see it. It's pretty faint, but if you're picking up a lot of sand dollars, you might notice that your fingers turn yellow, and that'll come off with some soap and water. It's just a little bit of a stain, but it is kind of funny. And if you are walking around, out there with your bare feet, you will also notice the bottoms of your feet might start to become stained yellow as well, because you're unknowingly stepping on all of these sand dollars in the sand. Hi everybody! Say hello in my shadow. So let's go see what else we can find. So here you can see some of the sand dollar tracks as they kind of move along in the sand. So this little guy came from, it looks like this little spot here, and he came along this way. And it looks like this one was laying here and came up here. So it's pretty fun to see them moving and crawling along. Look at all of them. So there's one here, here, here. Big one here, 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 here. I mean, they're just all over. Isn't it so crazy? Look at all of them. You can kind of see them peeking out. It's literally a blanket. I don't know if you guys can see all the little marks here, but all of these are little sand dollar prints. And then every once in a while you'll see one that kind of pokes through. It's just so crazy. Look at all of the sand dollars. Like, it's a little bit mind-boggling, really. So many. Look at them all. I just love seeing sites like this. I mean, number one, it's just really cool. It's just a sight that we don't see all the time. And number two, it's a sign that there's great life here on Sanibel. As you guys know, the past few years we've had issues with red tide and some bacterial problems, and this is a wonderful sight to see. And number three, it's a sign that these shells are breeding. At one point, probably, I'd say probably later in the summer, there's a time when a lot of times you'll find sand dollars like this, only they're the teeny tiny little babies, and they'll just be everywhere. Look at them all. And this is definitely not a sight you'll see all the time. So for those of you that are virtual shelling network members, this is the cool stuff that you get to see that some people never get to see. And I can tell you that I have been to the beach on an evening like this when there are sand dollars. There's so many that you could never count them all, and the next day they're gone. I don't know where they go, but they're gone. So you know, it definitely isn't like this is going to be this way tomorrow and this is going to be this way for the rest of the month or the rest of the week. Like, this is a sight that you just don't always get to see, and it is awesome. Just as far as you can see, sand dollars galore. Okay, so here I want to show you guys, because this is kind of a common misconception that I hear a lot of the time, that if a sand dollar is dark, it's alive, and if a sand dollar is light, it is dead, and that is not always the case. So here we have kind of like a more traditional, the sun is kind of going down, so I'm going to try to get at a good angle that you guys can see good color here. But this is kind of a traditional colored sand dollar. It's very, very dark colored, like a dark, kind of like an olive green color. You can see where it was cracked here, and he has very successfully, or he or she, repaired itself right there. But then next to it, we have two sand dollars that are very, very light in color. And these are both, you can see this one's turning. Can you guys see that it's turning around? I'm gonna hold it really still so you guys can kind of see it moving. But these are very light, but they're alive. You can see this one's clearly moving. And I'm gonna kind of try to zoom in so you guys can see, hopefully you can see the cool movement of the velvet up top here. Super cool, right? So you can see them moving, but this one is very, very light, and this one has a little chip here too, but that will be fine. And I just want to put these in good light so you guys can see the difference. Do you guys see, let me get the sand off of this one for you. Can you guys see the difference in these two sand dollars? But they are both alive. So just because one is more light than the other doesn't mean they're not alive, okay? So here is a sand dollar that is still a little bit dark, but it's starting to bleach. So this one is no longer alive. You'll be able to see there's no little feet in the keyholes here. This is completely smooth on the bottom, and there's no velvet left on top. So you know that this one is no longer alive. As they sit out in the sun, the longer that they sit out in the sun, they will start to bleach. So you will see that this little piece here has turned almost white. Oh, here comes these cool paragliders. I wonder if this is Paramania coming. Aren't these so fun, you guys? I have a couple friends that have these. How fun. I don't know, but one of those might be Ron Hagerman with Awesome Everglades Adventures. He does jet ski tours on Marco. So hi Ron, if that's you. So fun, right? Okay, so here's a really good example of a sand dollar that is still dark. It's still dark in color, it's not bleached out, it's not white, but it is no longer alive. You can look in the keyholes, okay, the little keyholes here, and you can see that there's no little feet. There's no little feet along the edges. The top is smooth, and there's no little hairs or velvet on the bottom. Okay, so this sand dollar is completely 100% okay to take home. It is no longer alive, it just hasn't bleached out all the way yet. So when you take this home, you'll be able to put it in bleach and then it'll turn nice and white. But this sand dollar, even though it's dark, it is no longer alive and it is a keeper. Okay guys, here's another one that I just picked up. And I just wanted to kind of go over this one too. As you can see, again, this one is also very, very dark. And that, again, does not mean that this sand dollar is alive, because it is no longer alive. However, if you look on the outside, you will no longer see any of the little legs or feet. If you look in the keyhole, you will also no longer see any of the little legs or feet. You can kind of see a couple little remnants here, but if you move your finger there, they easily come off. You'll also still see some of the velvet left on the outside of the shell, if you can see that. But if you look really closely, it is not moving. Most of the velvet is gone. And if you flip it over, you'll also see the same thing. The shell is starting to become smooth, and there's also a little hole in the bottom. So that animal is no longer alive. So even though this sand dollar is very, very dark, it is a-okay for you to take this one home. Now, I also came across this little guy right here. Let me grab him and just rinse him off really quickly. Now, at first glance, he's in rough shape, right? And if you go and check his outside feet, okay, you might not see a lot, okay, but he does have some here. You can see on the outside, he still has some outside feet. If you look in the keyhole, he doesn't really have a lot there, but he does have some in the middle. He does still have all of the velvet on the outside top of his shell. And if we flip him over gently here, you can see that he still does have the feet on the bottom. And if you look really close, and again, I'm gonna try to hold this real still for you guys, you will see that it is moving, especially right over here. Can you guys see that? So even though this sand dollar is in rough shape, and even though this sand dollar, in my opinion, is probably not gonna make it, I mean, he's really in rough shape, he is alive and he is not okay to take. So what I like to tell people is, when in doubt, and you know what, we're gonna put him down here in a place where, you know, hopefully he won't get stepped on, because he's already having it a little bit rough. So we'll put him down here and kind of bury him in the sand and give him the best chance that we can. But when in doubt, if you aren't sure if it's alive and there's not somebody around that you can ask, take a picture and put it back. I promise you, you will find another shell, another sand dollar at another time. But when in doubt, give that shell, give that animal a chance to live. Oh, speaking of starfish, look what husband found. He found a Florida orange. I'm gonna trade you these sand dollars. Okay, for, hold on, starfish. Here, can you hold those just for a second? Okay, so here's a little starfish. They call these Florida orange because, well, they're orange, and you can see that they kind of have a blue background and then the little orange dots. Let me make sure that he stays nice and moist here. I'm also going to show you too, you can tell he is suctioned onto my fingers. Can you guys see that? Hopefully you guys will get a good little view of that. So they do have little suction cup feet, kind of like an octopus. Super pretty. So this little guy obviously is alive. You can see him kind of curling his little feet, and I want to see if I can flip him over so you guys can see the little feet on the bottom. See if I can get a good little zoom in picture for you guys. So again, a lot of times people will see sand dollars and starfish, sea urchins as well, and they will see them up on the beach and assume that they're dried out or assume that they're no longer alive. And again, if you are not 100% sure that that sea creature is not alive, don't take it, because that sand dollar, even though I wouldn't put money on it surviving, it could still survive. It might reproduce tonight. You don't know that. And so the last thing you want to do is take an animal that is about to reproduce or could potentially breed before they pass away, and remove that chance of that animal reproducing and making more babies. Okay, so keep that in mind as you're shelling. Be a good sheller. We always say, you know, only take empty shells. And you guys know me, when I say empty, we don't just mean alive, because not all shells that have a creature inside are alive. Hermit crabs, the shell is not alive, but obviously there's somebody living in there. So only take empty shells, and you guys will hear me say too that includes shells that are deceased. I definitely do not recommend taking a deceased shell unless you can get that dead animal out at the beach. It is really tough to get that clean. It is going to stink really, really bad. That's your fair warning. So I say empty shells. So here's a really pretty egret. I'll try to get as close as I can without scaring him off so you guys can see he's this fish in there. And then we have a really pretty ibis down here, and they're well known for their pink legs and their pink beak that's kind of curved. And a lot of times you'll see them on the side of the road in little flocks. Ibis kind of flock together. And never forget, when you come to the beach, guys, like, I know everybody wants to find shells. We all want to find shells and fun things, but don't forget to take your time to look around you. You know, enjoy the lighthouse, enjoy the scenery, the trees, the sea turtle nests, the birds, you know, the beautiful sunset. Just really enjoy what's around you. Look up. You know, you might see a bald eagle, you might see osprey, you might see pelicans, you might see dolphins, a manatee. You just never know what you'll find, and a lot of times I feel like, for me especially, I mean, I'm guilty of this too, you know, we're shellers and we're looking down so much that sometimes we forget to look up, and we miss a lot of really cool stuff. So just make sure that as you're shelling, take a moment to just enjoy the wildlife around you. And it's not always going to be right in front of you. Sometimes we've got to look and see some of the cool birds and stuff. So here we are at Lighthouse, and we're going to continue walking on down. So speaking of looking up, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this big school of fish that's playing in the waves right here. And it's just so cool to watch them kind of swimming in the waves. Hopefully you guys can see. It's super cool. This is the kind of fun thing that you get to see, especially down here at Lighthouse. There's just so much fun wildlife. See if I can kind of get in the school here. You guys will be able to see them a little bit better. Hey everyone, I wanted to do this quick little bonus clip for you. Last night I filmed this episode of the sand dollars, and I just wanted to show you that this is the exact same beach. So here we are, like right down by Lighthouse. The exact same location today. Same time in the evening, and there is not a sand dollar to be found. And like I said, you know, that phenomenon, if you want to call it that, that event, that opportunity to see sand dollars like that does not happen very often. And I always tell people this is a great example of why one day there can be shell piles or sand dollars or starfish or a bunch of seaweed, and you know, and then somebody comes down on vacation the next day and the beach looks like this, right? And then the opposite, you know, maybe you've been here for a week and this is what the beach looks like, and then, you know, you leave and then the next day people are posting that there's sand dollars everywhere. This is how quickly the beach can change. I mean, there's not a sand dollar to be found, and last night, as you guys can clearly see, we couldn't walk a step without seeing dozens of them. So I just wanted to give you guys just a quick little view right now of what the beach looks like literally 24 hours later. So anytime you come to the beach, like I said, you know, part of shelling is the hunt. Part of shelling is that you're never going to know what the beach is going to be like, and you never know what you're going to find. You don't know if there's going to be a great break line to shell or a great rack line to shell, or what's going to be up here in low tide. Here's a little view looking back. We got a storm brewing over here on the west end. Is getting some rain. We are in the clear so far here, but I just wanted you guys to see, because it is amazing, and believe me, I've been here when people they just can't believe that the beach changes so much in just one day, just 24 hours. So hopefully that gives you guys some insight. I'm glad you guys were able to experience that with me through virtual shelling. This again is another reason why I'm so excited to do this virtual shelling network and to bring to you some really fun experiences that even if you do come down, you might not be here on that exact day to be able to experience and see. So thank you guys so much again, and I'll see you guys again next time.